Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to Edible Education 101. This is our 13th class. We have one more to go. It's been a really exciting semester. Tonight, our focus is on what you can do to make an impact in the food movement. And tonight, we're featuring two Haas alums who have gone on to dedicate themselves in their careers and livelihoods in the food sector. And we're going to be hearing from them in a few minutes. Just to remind you, it's as a courtesy to our speakers, we appreciate it when you put your screens down while we're here. And I wanted to invite, does anybody have an announcement to make tonight? Anybody? Okay, great. Yeah, you have an announcement? Is it? Okay, great. Stand up. Speak into the camera. Up there.
Hi everyone, my name is Jason. I work at a workforce development nonprofit that empowers refugees, immigrants, and low-income Bay Area residents with baking skills. It's called the Bread Project. We're always looking for volunteers, and so it would be really great if you want to get involved. We teach hard and soft skills, and we have 3-week cycles of cohorts coming every week. This week we actually have Syrian refugees and Farsi-speaking refugees from Iran, kind of relevant to the course. So if you have Farsi or Arabic language skills, that's really helpful.
Fantastic. Can you post that on B Courses too, the link to that? And Ryan has an announcement. Ryan Peterson, our noble reader.
All right, thanks, Will. So I just wanted to make a brief announcement that I think ties closely to the recent exploration in the class of food waste. So as many of you know, Berkeley's newest academic building, Chew Hall, is going to be opening in the fall of 2017. And the state-of-the-art facility will be the first academic building in the U.S. to be designed for LEED Platinum and WELL certifications, and it's also going to be a zero-waste building. So we're hoping to achieve zero waste certification by the summer of 2018, and that'll be the first business school in the U.S. to achieve something like that.
All right.
So,
and who's the project lead?
The project lead is myself, and I have this awesome team of fellow students working with me as well. So it's a student-led initiative, and part of that is it really requires that the full student body be on board. So the UC system is pledged to have zero waste by 2020. But we're currently only at about 50%. So we really need a model for the campus to follow in order to achieve this initiative. So we want to start here at Haas, which I think is a great opportunity for Haas to further enhance its innovative reputation and take a step that a lot of business schools might not take in environmental sustainability. So with that, we're going to be tabling in the courtyard on the 24th from 10:30 to 3 p.m. We'll be there to answer any sustainability questions about the building and also educate you on how we can comply with this initiative. Everything in the building will be reusable, recyclable, compostable, and everything sold in the building will be there to support that. There won't be any landfill buildings. So hope to see you guys on Monday, and we also put our email up there if you have any questions or ideas or want to get involved.
That is exciting. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks for your leadership on that. That's good. It all happens right here in this classroom. It's amazing. And then just another reminder that there's a wonderful slow food get-together happening Sunday, April 30th. And now if you take out your iClicker, I just have a couple of surveys for you tonight, too. This one says, what is the most immediate way you will participate in the food movement? This is just so I get a little sense of what you're thinking about. Reducing food waste, eating more local, healthier, sustainably produced food. C, reducing food insecurity, as Jason's doing. Demanding greater transparency from people that provide your food, or subscribing to Civil Eats, and subscribing to Civil Eats. How's that? There's no wrong answer this week. Taking the stress out. I hear stress levels are up. Is that right? Coming into finals? We're reducing the stress on the attendance questions this week. Okay. Should we look at the results?
I exited it by accident. I think I exited it.
Okay, so is that?
I exited
Oh,
it
she
by
did. Okay,
accident.
okay. Well, did we capture it though?
Yeah, it's
okay.
recorded, but
okay. Well, if you're here, you're in good shape. Okay, we'll go on. So we're also we're getting down to the final strokes of organizing our field trip for May 5th to go to Kennard Farms. Bob Kennard is a legendary farmer, food producer. He's really kind of a shaman. He's an amazing person if you get a chance to interact with him. He's grown a lot of the food for Chez Panisse for, 30 years. He's really a remarkable man. The way this is shaping up is that this field trip is completely autonomous from the university. It's self-organized among us buddies. And so you need to sign up on a Google Doc that Rohini has created. And we're asking you if you want to go and if you can drive, and we're going to match people up. And then you'll have to sign a waiver release saying that you're going on your own accord. It has nothing to do with anything official. But it will be fun. I'm thinking it'll go sort of 9 to 3 on a Friday. Should be a great outing. We'll probably have a chance, Hannah, right, to get some food on the way. And I just wanted to remind you that your second assignment is due next Wednesday at 6 o'clock before the class starts. I know many of you are making good progress. We're hearing from some of you about the specifics. Don't leave this one to the last minute because it really requires some thought. And also remember, last week I offered you extra credit if you were willing to argue the alternative case or the opposing case to the position that you took in your argument. Okay, I was thinking it would be fun now in class 13 to kind of review the objectives that we set out in the course at the beginning. One was to understand how the food system works and is structured. 2, understand your role in the food system and how your personal choices and actions are linked. Clarify your personal values as they relate to the food system and food movement. Develop a personal action plan for participation in the food movement. And develop a vision for how your education can prepare you to make a difference in the food movement. And we've talked a lot about developing this superpower of X-ray vision, of transparency, so that you could develop kind of a skeptical mind of inquiry to see through a lot of the opacity and a lot of the hype and the confusion with labeling and things like that. So I just thought it would be interesting for my benefit to get a little feedback from you. So if you still have your iClicker, please, if you could answer this question for me too. How would you rate the increase in your food systems intelligence since class 1? A would be no increase. B would be a modest increase. C, a meaningful increase. And D would be a massive increase. Let's see how the class feels tonight about your food systems intelligence.
They responded pretty quickly.
Okay. All right, let's see. C, meaningful increase. That's good. Great. Okay, people are changing their mind always. This is a very, thank you for that. Okay, we'll go on. We'll capture that. And so as we wrap this course up, one of the things we are hoping to do is, activate in you and empower you to make a difference. And I thought I'd just introduce you to a concept that the philosopher Peter Singer has introduced. Does anybody read Peter Singer or seen his TED Talk? Or he's really a remarkable kind of practical philosopher. He has come up with a term called effective altruism, which he is hoping to catalyze into a movement. And he wrote a book called The Most Good That You Could Do. And it's kind of a rigorous approach to thinking about how each of us can be empowered to affect positive change in the world. He focuses a lot on saving lives, and he focuses on the people who are most at risk in the world. and he promotes a concept called effective altruism, which brings kind of almost like a business person's mind around rigor to the idea of making the world a better place. And he shows different models in his book. One model is, he talks about one of his former students who decided he was going to go out and make the most money he possibly could so he'd have the most money to give away. That was one approach. He also tells a story of someone else who decides to kind of slim down their overhead to a way where they're just living on what they need to, and then they give the rest away, and they actually calculate the number of lives that they can save. And he also talks about a lot of organizations that have been kind of tracked and rated and graded for the effectiveness of their philanthropy or their giving or their intervention. And I just think it's an interesting way for us to think about this now that edible education is housed here at the business school, that we can think about how each of us can become an effective altruist. And to that end, there's a wonderful article that Naomi Starkman, who was our guest a few weeks ago, showed me last night on Civil Eats, which is a whole list of resources that you might want to look at about where you can start in changing the food system. So I just posted that to B courses, and I hope you'll look at it. And I really hope you'll take seriously the idea that you can make a difference individually in your own actions, and then also you can be a huge source of influence as a leader, modeling actions and behaviors and positive messaging that reinforces your values in the food system. So I had the pleasure of being visited by Judy, one of our students this afternoon, and she was asking me about, how does one go about starting a food business? And I thought I have a kind of a funny story about that. A lot of you are going to graduate, and you're thinking about how to get into the working world and into an area where you care about and you're passionate about. And what I wanted to do is just tell you a little of my own story of starting the Republic of Tea, and also just kind of underscore the element of serendipity that comes into play. I think sometimes in business school we talk a lot about strategy and plans and visions, and sometimes just showing up in the right place can completely change your life. And when I was about 29, I got invited to a conference of a group of people called the Social Venture Network, which was an organization that consisted of people that had been in business, entrepreneurs and investors and philanthropists that were interested in changing the world through business. And I went to this conference. I was very idealistic, very impressionable, and in that one weekend, I met Ben and Jerry. I met Gary Hirschberg, who was here. I met Jeff Hollander, who'd started Seventh Generation. I met Paul Hawken, who'd started Smith & Hawken. It was a group of people who were, 10 or 15 or even more years older than I was. They were experienced. They'd come out of the very tumultuous period of the 60s. They had a very activated activist backbone, but they were also very enterprising, and they wanted to figure out how to change the world through business. And there was a disproportionate amount of them who were interested in working in food. And so I went to this conference, and I was just so awestruck with the energy and the conversation. And, it was a little bit like being at an outpost. Has anybody heard of Joseph Campbell or The Hero's Journey? Anybody read that book, The Hero with 1,000 Faces? Well, has anybody seen Star Wars? That might be more accessible. Well, in Star Wars, the hero goes out to this outpost where he's completely, or she is completely disoriented with the surroundings. And it's often at that place, that's the place of embarkation that Joseph Campbell would talk about, where the journey begins. And that's what this conference was like for me. I was completely out of my element. I had never seen anything like this. And actually, I went to this conference anticipating that I was going to fly back from New Jersey, where the conference was, on Sunday morning. I'd had an appointment and a date with a gentleman who had offered me a job at a publishing company in San Francisco. And I was kind of nervous about that, and he was a big deal, kind of a famous guy. He had started the TED conference, and I had worked with him on the TED conference a bit, and he was expanding his publishing empire, and he asked me if I would work for him. And he even said, I will upgrade you to first class so we can fly back across the country together and we can settle the terms of this deal. So I was, very excited. I was a little bit stressed out and nervous, and I got up really early. I got up at like 4 o'clock in the morning to get a cab to Newark Airport, and I'm standing in the lobby, and I didn't get the cab. And I was in rural New Jersey. Anybody know where that is? I mean, it was not, you know where it is. I mean, there were no cabs there. And I was sitting in the lobby, I'm looking at my watch. Don't forget, this is no cell phones, no texts, no apps. And I'm watching the clock, and there's no way for me to get in touch with this gentleman. There's no way for me to get a cab, and I'm sore out of luck. I missed the cab, I missed the flight, and I'm feeling a little bit lost. I'm sitting in the lobby, and this guy walks up to me. Now it's 6 o'clock in the morning. He walks up to me and he says, you need to go to the airport. And the guy, he was all dressed in khakis. He looked like he was right out of the Banana Republic. And it turned out he was, actually. And he offered me a ride to the airport. It was great. It turned out we were on the same flight, or we were going to the same place. I had to change my flight. I got on the next flight to San Francisco, and we rode to the airport. We changed our seats. We sat together on the plane. My day was getting a little bit better. I was getting over the disappointment of missing this flight and wondering what that meant. And we ended up sitting together on the plane and took off to San Francisco, somewhere over Philadelphia. The flight attendant comes up and offers us both coffee. And I said, I'd like tea, please. And he said, I'd like tea. And we kind of looked at each other. That's interesting. And then the flight attendant kind of looked at us like a quizzical look. Because don't forget, this was the moment that United Airlines had put Starbucks coffee on all their flights, and they were promoting that like crazy. So they gave us this terrible tea. I mean, we looked at each other. It was like, this is the worst tea I've ever had. And it started a 6-hour, it was a long flight, a 6-hour conversation about tea. How you can't get a decent cup of tea in the United States. It turned out we were both kind of aficionados of Eastern philosophy and had studied kind of the tea ceremony, and we had a lot in common, and we were just like riffing on this 30,000 square foot, 30,000 square, not square feet, feet up elevation conversation that was just completely wide-ranging. I've never had a conversation like that in my life. And right before, and he was a really great entrepreneur. He was retired. He was about 15 years older than me. He was one of the founders of the Banana Republic. And right before we were ready to land in San Francisco, I said, why don't we start a tea company? And he kind of looked at me and said, well, I don't know. I don't really know if I want to go back into business right now, but I'll certainly think about it with you. But I've got a name for you. And he said, how about the Republic of Tea? And I blurted out, okay, I'll be the Minister of Progress. And I went home. I was so excited. My heart was just beating. I felt like something had been born in that conversation. And I went home to my wife, and we had a 1-year-old baby. And she was sort of expecting me to come home and say, I've sealed the deal on the new job, and I'll be able to pay the rent and buy the groceries. And I said, honey, I'm home. I'm going to start a tea company. And she almost dropped the baby. I remember that. It was a surprise. Anyway, my newfound mentor and I started writing ideas back and forth to each other by fax. Remember, anybody still know what a fax machine is? We wrote about 400 pages of faxes in 6 weeks. I mean, it was insane. We would go back and forth. We were up. I would send something in the middle of the night. I'd have an idea. I'd send it to him. I'd get a fax right back. I was doing massive amounts of research. I was writing business plans. I mean, this is before anybody knew what, this was before we sort of had a roadmap for starting a business. Anyway, 6 weeks into this, he sends me this kind of heartbreaking, not email, but fax. It says, well, I'm kind of done with this. Why don't you start the business? And I was like, what? Start the business? I'm not able to do that. And he'd said, well, I've kind of given you the ideas that I have, and why don't you, when you're ready, let me know. And about the same time, another friend of ours who we'd met at that social venture network, who was also a successful entrepreneur, he had started a company called Rockport Shoes and sold it to Reebok for a lot of money. He was reading these faxes one night, and he says, wow, this is amazing. This should be a book about how to start a business. And I was like, wow, great. And he said, do you mind if I send these to my friend at Doubleday? And I said, sure, go ahead. So he sent the faxes, some sample of the faxes to Harriet Rubin at Doubleday, and she wrote back and said, I want to publish these as a book. And I was just elated, like, I get on this airplane, I want to start a tea company, now I've got a book offer, and I said to my colleague, now we could, publish these letters, and he said, well, I don't think we should publish the letters about how to start a business if we don't have a business. I was like, yeah, small detail, right? So anyway, I won't tell you the rest of the story tonight, but it took about 18 more months for me to figure out how to start the Republic of Tea. One of the things I realized about 8 months in was that we had a lot of great marketing ideas, but fundamentally I didn't know enough about tea to really bring great tea to market. So I had to become a tea expert, and that took me a bit longer to do. Anyway, about another 18 months later, I went back to Mel and said, I'm ready. We sent the rest of the faxes to our friend at Doubleday. She edited our correspondence into this wonderful book, and the advance from the book provided the seed capital for the business, and we started the business. The man who had sent the letters to her in the first place became our only investor, and we were off to the races, and that was 25 years ago, and the company still exists. And in the back of the book is the mission, vision, and values statement that I wrote, which was called the Charter of the Republic of Tea. It's still on the wall of the business, still guides the business. It's really something that I think created enduring value. And when this book was published, it became kind of a case study for business schools, and it started getting assigned in entrepreneurship classes. So I would get invited to come pop up at the end of the class and tell what happened. So that's how I became a teacher. And then several years ago, a professor at Clemson created an academic journal on the theory of narrative in entrepreneurial education. And they did an entire issue. There were 15 academic papers on the Republic of Tea book as a teaching tool for how to learn about the entrepreneurial journey. So that's a little bit about my journey, which I just thought I'd share with you. It really set my life up to be part of this food movement at a time. If you're interested in this, I think you can get it on Amazon for $1 or something. But it is an interesting book. It's something you can definitely read on an airplane ride. So I thought I would tell you too, as you're thinking about going out into the world and establishing yourselves, what can you do practically? Like, what have I learned that I can share with you that you can do that's going to increase your chances of success? And I like to think that we're all in these kind of interesting orbits. You're going to graduate, you're going to go out, and you're going to be looking for a job. And Now you're in orbit. You pick a sector that you want to work in. Maybe it's the food sector. You're in an orbit. And then imagine that the people and the organizations and the institutions are also in orbits, but they're not necessarily in your orbit. They're going to grow. They're thinking about maybe they're going to create a new job, or maybe somebody's going to leave. It's hard to tell. So you have to kind of imagine yourself in figuring out how you're going to end up in orbit with your comrades and companions. And maybe Allie can talk about this, because she sort of went through a really interesting experience of finding her orbit. So a couple words of unsolicited advice. One, you have to be prepared, okay? When you are getting into orbit, you've got to be prepared. You've got to know what you're talking about. You've got to have domain expertise. Hopefully, a class like Edible Education has helped prepare you for being able to have a lucid conversation, for having a perspective that you can share. You have to know your stuff whenever you're interacting, okay? You also have to believe in yourself. You have to believe that you really have something unique to offer. And if you have trouble thinking about what your own gifts and talents are, go talk to a friend and ask them, what do I have to offer? What do I offer you in our friendship? What do I offer you on our team? What am I good at? And start to understand what you have to offer and what you can believe in, and then commit yourself to being able to deliver that. One thing that is just critical, and it gets lost a lot in our digital lives, is showing up in person, making eye contact, being in proximity to another human being is so critical. If you can break through the noise and the separation and kind of the alienation that the digital world provides, you're going to have a lot better results in creating the kinds of connections that are going to fuel a meaningful life for you. So show up. I once, just to continue the tea story, once I got going, I was trying to source this tea. I had found a really delicious, beautiful tea that was peach flavored, and I found it in London. And I also learned that all of the tea flavoring companies are in Hamburg, Germany. So I ordered samples from about 12 different houses, and I had developed my palate. I was able to place this tea that I bought in London in a tea shop with the company in Hamburg that sold it, the wholesale company. And I wrote them a fax and said I was an aspiring entrepreneur in the US, that I wanted to make the United States familiar with fine tea. And the guy wrote me back and he said, "That's really nice, but we don't sell tea to people we don't know." And I had to get on a plane and fly to Hamburg, and I spent 3 days with them. And that relationship ended up being like the key relationship that financed almost all the growth in the company. It's really amazing. So just showing up is so critical. And then you know me, I'm a gardener. I like this notion of cultivation. Cultivation is an active, ongoing process. It changes with the seasons. It also really values reciprocity. So think about cultivation is about reciprocity and relationship, and in contrast to, say, transaction. And think just how habitually we've entered into a livelihood or a life of transaction. Whether we're ordering something online or clicking to find somebody for our life or whatever, things have become transactional. And I think we have to kind of fight that back and focus on relationships. And then finally, persist. You have to be persistent, you have to be patient, but you have to keep trying, and you have to keep figuring out how you're going to end up in orbit. And then all of a sudden, serendipitously, something's going to happen that you don't even expect, but all of the sum total of all of those efforts will have sort of compelled in your favor to create an opportunity that you didn't even know existed for you. Okay? Next week, final week, we have a very special guest, one of Kelley's good friends. Sam Cass was formerly President and Michelle Obama's chef, and then became the White House Nutrition Policy Advisor, and was the director of the Let's Move program out of Washington. Now he is an entrepreneur. He's doing a lot of different things. He's one of the most interesting people and fascinating people, and has had a lot of really unique insights into what's going on in the food movement. So he'll be our final guest next week. And then without further ado, this week, I'm really thrilled to welcome two alums. As I mentioned, Kelley will be our first speaker. Allie is a recent grad of the Haas School, where she got her MBA, and now she is working with Annie's Homegrown here locally, and she works closely with another Haas alum, John Foraker, who some of you might have heard speak. John's a very inspiring CEO, and another member of the Berkeley Alumni Club in food. Without further ado, please welcome Kelley to tell us about the power of purpose and brands. Let me get you all set up here.
Timing-wise.
Yeah, how about you can go till
15?
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
So after that really compelling talk on orbits, I'm inspired to just tell stories about orbits for the next 20 minutes. But it's because I was in Will's orbit while I was a student here that I'm here today, and I'm in Sam's orbit as well, and have benefited from both of those orbits. So I encourage you guys all to follow Will's, I think, very pertinent and clear advice there. So I am a graduate of the Haas full-time MBA program, class of 2015. So it really was not long ago that I was sitting here in these seats. Actually, the class was somewhere else when I took it. But on a personal note, before I begin, this class is really near and dear to my heart because I took it when I was a first-year MBA with a man who at the time was my friend and is now my fiance. He's here in the audience. I won't embarrass him. But we're getting married in September, and he's wonderful. And so just watch who you're sitting next to, because you never know what might happen. Very romantic class. Okay, so I am in brand marketing at Annie's, which is based here in Berkeley. And in addition to telling you all about cheddar bunnies, I'm going to talk about the power of brand purpose and how we have grown from a tiny little mac and cheese company to a $100 million business, So the power of brand purpose, growth without compromise. I think, we hear this term a lot these days, mission-driven business, mission-driven company, right? But what does that really mean? So we say that a brand's purpose or mission is a declaration of what a brand believes and why it exists in the world. So it's not about what a brand or business provides, it's about why they provide it, why they exist. This is most often used in the context of sustainability and social impact, but it can also go beyond that. But today, that's the focus. In our case, is really sustainability. So why does mission matter? Simply put, a brand's mission is really its North Star. It is really what guides its decisions and what drives the business forward. A truly mission-driven brand is essentially a positive feedback loop. So the mission is integral to the business model, and as the business grows, the impact scales. This is the concept that you've probably all heard of, the triple bottom line, right? So there's a positive relationship between people, planet, and profit, and those impacts, and that is very much what we do at Annie's. The mission also builds meaningful connections with a brand's key stakeholders. So consumers, employees, other key partners. The mission is really the reason to believe, and it's the source of authentic relationships with those people. And I think that increasingly mission is becoming an important differentiator. So in competitive industries like food, for instance, where a lot of people are offering a lot of really similar products, the why becomes increasingly important. And again, for us at Annie's, that's been really essential to our growth. This chart on the right is from the Harvard Business Review, and this shows essentially that most companies who consider themselves mission-driven or purpose prioritizers are seeing double-digit growth, which is pretty impressive. So Annie's brand mission is to cultivate a healthier, happier world by spreading goodness through nourishing foods, honest words, and conduct that is considerate and forever kind to the planet. And we've been living our mission since 1989. So Annie Withy started the company in the Boston area in 1989, and Annie's product was a natural mac and cheese, which, raise your hand, how many of you have tried Annie's mac and cheese? Okay, that's pretty good. So Annie in the beginning was really fighting for every box that she sold, literally distributing mac and cheese out of the back of her truck. Since then, we've grown a lot. We went public in 2012, and then in 2014, we were acquired by General Mills. And throughout that path of evolution and change, we have really stayed true to our mission in our office and in our programs and partnerships that we've used to advance, like I said, nourishing words and sustainable business practices. So these are just some of the highlights, which I'll talk more about later, but we're dedicated really to advancing the next generation of sustainable farmers. And so to that end, we have different programs like Grants for Gardens, which is grants for schools and community organizations to start gardens, and then our Ag Scholarships program, which funds agricultural research that are getting at that end. We've also won some sustainability awards. We're LEED Gold certified, and the path very much continues. When we think about sustainability, we really view it in the context of the broader food system, and we make decisions based on their impact, as I said, on people, planet, and profit. We seek to really spread positive impact across the supply chain, we say from farm to fork. So this shows sort of our supply chain broken down where the greatest opportunities are to have an impact. You can see this tractor, that is material production or ingredients. This is really our biggest lever for change. And in general, we have three main strategies that we're using to push our sustainability agenda. So designing better food, inspiring change, and educating our consumers, and then leading by example. I mentioned that ingredients are really our biggest lever for change. Our primary ingredients, which isn't surprising, is wheat and dairy. And within all of our sourcing, we are primarily focused on organic. So you guys, having taken this class, probably understand organic very well. But it is fundamentally a holistic, sustainable agricultural system that's based on this philosophy that everything is connected, nature knows best, and it's really a way of making connections between healthy people, healthy planet, the food we eat, the way we live. That is organic. The organic standard itself, as you guys, again, probably know, sort of most simply put, it's about no GMOs, no pesticides, synthetic fertilizers, toxic chemicals, and it's about promoting farming practices that really leave the world in a better place, from building soil health to natural resource and habitat conservation. So at Annie's, we like to say that we're making organic for everybody, because everything we do at Annie's has a bunny theme, as you'll pick up later in this presentation. So organic for everybody really means two things. Number one, making great tasting organic foods more accessible, and number two, expanding organic acreage. So this might be a surprise to some of you without young kids, but we've grown a lot. So like I said, in 1989, we started with our natural mac and cheese, and today we are in over 15 categories we're in 15 categories with over 300 products. So as you can see here, that now includes cereal, yogurt. What else? We have organic sandwich cookies or Oreos. We have refrigerated baked cinnamon rolls. We have organic toaster pastries or Pop-Tarts. So the list goes on, but we're really proud of what we're doing to bring more organic foods to more people. Last year, 88% of our sales came from organic products, which includes both made with organic and certified organic. The other piece of this, as I said, is working to expand organic farmland. So again, wheat and dairy are primary ingredients. With those and other ingredients combined, we sourced 212 million pounds of organic ingredients over the last 5 years. Last year alone, we sourced 60 million pounds, which is a 36% increase over the previous year. So this is something we're really proud of and are working hard to make strides on the sourcing side. Another cool partnership, so do you guys know Organic Valley dairy brand? So they're our primary cheese supplier, and last year we announced a partnership with them to actually increase organic acreage across 20 dairy farms for a total of 3,000 new organic acres. So as we grow, and again, you guys have talked about this in this class, our context is changing. So consumers are demanding more transparency, more authenticity. They want more visibility into where their foods come from and how they're made. Furthermore, they're seeking less processed, more nutrient-dense foods, and the list of sort of food trends continues, right? But in general, consumers are more informed and better engaged, or more informed and engaged than ever before, which is ultimately a really good thing. The other piece is competition, right? So arguably in the 90s, when we were just getting started, we were kind of the only game in town. Like there weren't many other brands providing really good natural and organic food to kids. Now that is no longer the case. As you know, there's any number of brands who are making really great natural products. And so when we think about sort of our competitive threats at Annie's, it's coming from a few key places. One is the big conventional brands that are cleaning up their ingredients, like Kraft mac and cheese, for instance, taking out the artificial flavors and colors. Another is there are a lot of private label natural and organic brands. So you think about like a Safeway or Kroger, Walmart, Target, they all have their own in-store brands, and they can make natural and organic food pretty inexpensively. And then the third piece is like all of these small disruptive players. The list is too long to name, but kind of chomping at our ankles, offering pretty cool products with pretty cool brand stories. So that's the competitive landscape we're in, and also the retail landscape is changing. So I don't know how many of you go online to buy groceries, but online grocery shopping right now is about 4% of total grocery sales, and it's projected to increase to 20% by 2025. So this is obviously driven by Amazon and then Walmart, but also stores like Safeway and Kroger have their own delivery services, and then there are different businesses like Jet and Thrive Market and others who are also purely online. So for us, that changes the way that we intersect with consumers. If it's not in person, how do we make that authentic connection, through a screen? All of which is to say that our mission now, we think, is more important than ever before. So what does mission mean at General Mills? You might wonder sort of how this plays out for us at General Mills, which is one of the largest global food companies. So General Mills last year did almost $17 billion in sales. And General Mills brands include Cheerios, Pillsbury, Betty Crocker, Hamburger Helper, Chex Mix, like some really iconic American brands. We are now part of that family, and proudly, I will say. When we were acquired in 2014, the sentiment was not positive. We got 30,000 Facebook comments just around the acquisition, and 12,000 of those just on the first post. Generally, the sentiment was not super encouraging. So you guys can't read this, I don't think. I'm just going to read an excerpt, which is characteristic of a lot of the comments we received. The majority of people that loved your products will stop purchasing them. Did you guys seriously have to sell out? I guess money's more important than being honest. But hey, enjoy being millionaires. And so that was kind of what we faced for several months after the acquisition. We continue to refute that, and we say that we're better together. And here's why. So this is the positive feedback loop that I mentioned up front, and this is how it plays out for us. So we are on a mission to provide organic for everybody, and I mentioned sort of the supply and demand sides of that. With General Mills resources and supply chain, we can now make more organic products. As you saw, our portfolio has expanded. With their distribution, we can give more people more access, and ultimately more visibility. So with more people choosing Annie's, we're having greater community impact, and all of which is driven by more organic acreage. So this is kind of the positive feedback cycle that we're in, which is just fueled by the support and resources we now have from General Mills. Okay, so does this sound like too good to be true? Like big company buys small company keeps its mission, everything's happy, we're growing like crazy, and we're doing more good than ever before. Like that's basically what I just told you. And so if you're saying, hold up, how do you do that? That's a totally fair reaction. So I'm now going to tell you, just share a few tips from our playbook. This is a rabbit named Kevin, actually, who played in our Bunny Bowl, which we hosted around Super Bowl time. And these are 10 tips for staying true to your mission, despite rapid change. So the first tip is never compromise. Our products represent a sacred pact between our brand and our consumers, and we refuse to make any decisions that violate our consumers' trust. So that means that we hold ourselves to really high standards. If you've ever seen one of our products, they all have this made with goodness banner on them, and that is symbolic of our ingredient standard. So we don't use any artificial ingredients, synthetic flavors, preservatives, no GMOs ever, no high fructose corn syrup, and the list goes on of other additives that we don't allow in our foods. We seek the best ingredients that we can find, which is often difficult and costly, as you can imagine. We're very, very strict on labeling standards when it comes to even trace ingredients and allergens and nutritionals. And we partner with a lot of third-party verifying bodies to really ensure accuracy there. The second tip from our playbook is do the right thing. And this might sound cliche, but I'm going to tell you a story to illustrate the point. So the rule here is that our consumers come first always, similar to what I said on the first slide. Last year, we had to put this play into practice when a quality issue arose on our Bunny Grahams business. So in late November, we started receiving consumer complaints of a paint-like odor and sort of woody taste in our little Bunny Grahams, which is a lot of kids' first solid food, right? If you guys have tried these, they're delicious and they're bite-sized and cute and easy to eat. And so we heard from consumers that there were these weird odors and tastes coming from these Bunny Graham boxes, and these are classic symptoms of rancidity, which is essentially an accelerated aging of a product that can occur often in whole grain products, like as they approach their expiration date, or maybe when they're not stored properly and exposed to heat. So anyhow, as we worked to understand the root cause of the rancidity, the complaints kept coming in, and by January, several hundred consumers had called or emailed us with these complaints. And they ranged from things like, this is really inconvenient, like we had to buy a different box of snacks, to you're poisoning my children with toxic chemicals, I hate you, I'll never buy your product again. And so this was just like this influx of consumer feedback, and we were sort of working quickly behind the scenes to understand what was actually causing this reaction. So what we did was we used the best buy dates from the boxes, as you've seen, to trace the product back to certain what's called lot codes, so where and when they were produced. And we were able to isolate the issue to some flour that hadn't been stored properly and had catalyzed this rancid reaction. But unfortunately, because the incidence of this rancidity was so sporadic, it occurred over a period of about 4 months, we didn't want to expose any more consumers to these bad boxes, which, by the way, no health or safety issue with rancidity, it's just an unpleasant experience. Anyhow, so we ended up taking all of this product off the market, 4 months worth of product. And that's like if you go into a grocery store and you see what's called an out of stock on shelf, just like no product there, that was us. And that was us for a few weeks. And it was really expensive and really embarrassing, but we did it because that was the right thing to do for our consumers. And so within just a couple of months of that announcement, we went back to our consumers, and specifically the ones who had written us, and we said, hey, we're going to make good on this. We're going to upgrade this product from a made with organic, which means it's 70% organic, to a certified organic product, so 95% or more. We changed the formula to avoid this issue from happening again. And then prior to the launch of the new product, we wrote a letter from our president, John, to all these consumers, and we mailed them new product. and the response was, unanimously positive. So that's something that it seemed at the time like it wasn't the right thing to do for the business, but there's no question to us that we had to protect that consumer trust and relationship. And the other trade-offs were negligible for us. Okay, that was a long one. This one's quicker. So tip number 3 is focus, and 3 clear things here. So number 1, know your consumer, have a clear strategy, and identify what we call unmet needs. So the Annie's consumer, we're very focused on the millennial mom or parent with kids in her household under the age of 12. Our mom typically has some degree of higher education and above average household income, so she's willing to pay more for premium natural and organic foods. Our strategy is to solve the tension between parents and kids. So we make products that moms approve of and kids request. And the shorthand for that is unjunking kid classics. And so you see how that can apply to like a classic mac and cheese or many of our other products, fruit snacks, cookies, cheddar bunnies, etc. This idea of unmet needs is really understanding your consumers' lives and where you can fit into them. So understanding the job that you do for them or the problem that you solve versus starting with the product attributes. So an example of a job would be, I need a mess-free snack for morning commutes, right? And then there's any number of products that meet that job, but it's different from an innovation perspective, saying I'm going to design a creamy mac and cheese with curly noodles, right? Because that doesn't really imply any consumer empathy. Again, our strategy is to unjunk kid requests. So on the left, you see some of the categories where this strategy works, and on the right, you see where it maybe doesn't work. So the Annie Chun's Noodle Bowl, great product, but Annie's can't really do that credibly, and it's also not something that our consumer would necessarily seek for her kids. Kale chips, great product. I eat these all the time, but not super popular with our consumer, right? And then baby carrots, it would be great if our consumers ate baby carrots, but we're not in the fresh produce business, right? So these are some of the filters that we use to guide our strategy. Number 4 is to connect personally. If any of you are engaged with Annie's at all on social media, you know that we are very active, and we use social media really to communicate directly and with a lot of, I think, kindness and empathy with our consumers. This is one example, and I'll tell this story quickly, but it's really powerful. So in January, a father wrote to us and said that his 7-year-old daughter, Arden, was going through leukemia treatments, and she, one morning, instead of bringing her stuffed animal to her treatment, she chose to bring a box of Annie's mac and cheese as her sort of source of comfort. And he posted that on our wall, and we wrote back and we said, hey, let us send you some product. We're so moved by this, and wishing Arden all the best. And then our president, John, actually weighed in and told the story of how his son, who's now 17, was a leukemia survivor, and how he had gotten leukemia at age 3 and really got through the treatment experience with mac and cheese and watching a lot of Barney on TV. And so John was able to really connect with that consumer. And I just think it's really exceptional that a company president is sort of always on our social media and having these conversations with our consumers. And this is one of many examples. Number 5, the learning mindset. So in our industry, failure is inevitable. Not everything is going to work. So what matters is how you react to it, right? This is true in life, arguably. These are 2 examples of products that haven't worked very well for us. So the first, I didn't actually ever see this on shelf, but it's a pizza. It's a frozen pizza with mac and cheese on top. Turns out that people like both of these foods separately. They don't really like them together. So that product no longer exists. The second one, the cheddar bunnies, this one's a bit more nuanced. So if you guys have seen our crackers and cookies, they come in these like 7-ounce boxes. And we thought, well, hey, our moms are always taking our crackers, they're just stuffing them in their purses, they're throwing out the boxes and just taking the inner bags, putting them in their purses and eating them as on-the-go snacks for their kids. And so we said, well, okay, let's just make them a smaller bag. Wouldn't that be great? And so we did. And it turns out that a few unexpected outcomes sort of came of this. One is that we lost a lot of presence on the shelf. So it's a lot easier to see a box than it is this tiny bag. If you go to a store and you look for Annie's crackers, you might not find them because they're literally pushed to the back of the shelf. So that was one. And then another sort of consumer behavior we learned about was that the moms actually just preferred to pack their own Ziplocs of crackers. They didn't need us to give them a bag. And then a third sort of insight here was that people with more than one kid are seeking value, right? And they wanted the bigger box of crackers that would last them longer in the week. So in retrospect, not the right strategy, but that's how we learn. And now we're going back to boxes. Stay positive. So this is really about John, our president, who's been with the company since 2000 and was I think 94 Haas grad. John couldn't be here tonight because he's in Minneapolis at an important meeting at headquarters, but he has just guided the company through so much big change, as you saw from our timeline, and is just relentlessly dedicated to the mission. He's positive, he's kind, he recognizes good work. He's the most inspiring leader I've ever worked for, and maybe will. And a lot of that is because of his positive attitude that really has propelled all of us forward as a team. Give back. I'm running out of time, so I'm going to be concise on this one, but we're involved with many organizations, including Feeding America and Food Corps and others that are committed to our same mission of sustainability and nourishing foods. And we partner with them on a number of levels, from funding to sort of industry advocacy, and then we also do a lot of in-person volunteer events. Win as a team. So I mentioned you'd see a lot of bunnies in this presentation, and Easter is, by the way, like our biggest season, both culturally and for our business, because of the bunny theme. But it's not uncommon to see people wearing bunny ears. This is our executive team. There are about 60 of us in the Berkeley office, and because of that, we really feel like a tight-knit family, which for those of you going out into the working world is a pretty cool effect to have, to be in a close community like that. Many people actually don't know that General Mills is the 4th largest producer of natural and organic foods. So all of these are General Mills brands, and this is kind of our broader family back in Minneapolis, where General Mills is based. Remember where you came from. So change begins with a vision. This is Annie, literally packing boxes of product, probably in the early 90s. And change takes a community to make it happen. This person on the right is Ron Finley, who is known as the Gangsta Gardener, and he is a sort of urban farming figurehead and activist in LA. And John has a relationship with Ron and recently has been helping Ron fight to keep his garden, which is at risk of, he's basically at risk of being evicted from the plot that he's been gardening for several years. And so John is rallying the troops in the natural and organic industry to help Ron save his garden. So this is really the concept of humility and paying it forward and remembering where you came from. Okay, finally, keep it weird. So we don't take ourselves too seriously. We try always to have fun and just keep things in perspective and remember that at the end of the day, we're selling mac and cheese. These are just 3 little vignettes. So last year we did a 420, appropriately timed a 420 little video on Instagram where we just had this spinning bowl of mac and cheese on a tie-dye background. The middle slide shows an April Fool's prank one year, which we called Bunny Butts and Butter Sauce. And we got so much positive feedback that we actually launched this product. We couldn't call it butts, we had to call it bunny tails. But this exists, you can go buy it today. We also had a campaign targeted more at millennials around spooning and the benefits of spooning. So We have a lot of fun. I would encourage you guys to do the same, and look forward to answering some questions.
Thank you, Allie. That's wonderful. We're going to do the questions all together at the end. I'm going to bring up, let's see. Okay, we're lucky to have another graduate of this. Let me turn this on. We're lucky to have another graduate of this illustrious institution here with us tonight. And Aashi is the co-founder of Traveling Spoon and really an inspiring entrepreneur. And Aashi, I think you took this class too, didn't you? Yeah, and a lot of the sort of seeds of the ideas came out of this. And Alice Waters is an early mentor, advisor, member of your tribe for this. And we're delighted to have you with us today. So Aashi Vel, co-founder of Traveling Spoon.
Thank you, Will. Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be here because, as Will said, this was one of my favorite classes. And similar to Ali, I sat with my classmate who became not my life partner, but my business partner. I also met my life partner at Haas. What can I say? This has been a good place for me. So what I wanted to share was a little bit about the company, a few minutes just talking about Traveling Spoon, and then really talking about my journey starting the company while I was at Haas, which I think would be a little bit more helpful to you guys. And then we can save questions for later. So I'm the co-founder of Traveling Spoon. Our tagline is travel off the eaten path. And Traveling Spoon is an online marketplace that connects travelers with local and authentic food experiences in people's homes around the world. Our goal is to disrupt the $246 billion culinary tourism industry and to make travel meaningful. We do that by connecting local hosts to travelers to share private food experiences, from homemade meals to cooking classes to market tours in these local homes. So imagine walking through the rice paddy fields of Bali and learning to pound curries from scratch from a traditional Balinese couple. Or visiting India and learning to make delicious South Indian dosas from an Indian grandmother. We make these experiences happen. We have a beautiful website that was launched a year and a half ago. You can go to travelingspoon.com today, browse our hosts from around the world, and book an experience online. So what's the business model? Traveling Spoon takes a percentage of every experience that's booked online. Our hosts set their own prices, and we add a markup. Travelers book and pay in advance, and we pay out our hosts at the time of the experience. We have proven traction and are ready to scale. We have a global presence in over 20 countries. We have over 250 amazing hosts. We know how to scale our host supply and already have partnerships in place with TripAdvisor, Expedia, and others. We have an incredible team with the expertise and experience in design, marketing, and product development, and that's backed by a terrific advisory and investor board, from Eric Blatchford, the former CEO of Expedia and our lead investor, to Nick Grandy, the very first engineer at Airbnb. And of course, Alice Waters, who is a constant source of inspiration for us. One of the things that we are proudest of is our incredible customer testimonials from travelers who say over and over again that Traveling Spoon was the highlight of their trip. That they spent 3 weeks traveling through Southeast Asia, and this was the best experience that they had, or the best meal that they had. Of course, we look at this both qualitatively and quantitatively. Our Net Promoter Score measuring consumers' willingness to refer Traveling Spoon is 77. And just to frame that for you in the context of the industry, that's over 3 times the travel industry average. This is one of our hosts in Bali, Dewa. And the reason I wanted to share this story was to say that, most importantly for us, it's not only about bringing meaningful impact to travelers, but also to our hosts. Deva came up to me recently and personally told me that he was so grateful for Traveling Spoon because it enabled him to send his kids to school. The future of travel lies in connecting people like Deva to travelers, to share meaningful experiences, to provide meaningful income, and in doing so, preserving cultural and culinary traditions. We are here to change the future of food and travel. So that's a little bit about the company. I thought maybe I would start with telling you how it got started and walk you through my journey through business school. So before business school, I was an industrial designer for over 11 years and always had a passion for food and travel. And right before starting business school, I actually went on a trip to Mexico during spring break. And I'm one of those people who tries to find the most authentic food, to really understand the culinary traditions of a region before I get there. So I'd ask friends and look at review websites to find, the best, most authentic places. And I was in the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico, and it's a magical place. But I had a really hard time finding authentic food. And the restaurants that I visited were overcrowded and touristy, and the ambiance was great, but the food catered to more of a Western taste, and it just didn't feel authentic. And I knew Mexico had great food, but I struggled to find that. And one day, on my way to one of these restaurants, I passed by this woman's home and happened to just peer through her window, and I saw her cooking. And I just had this moment where I was like, I wish I could eat with her. And hear her stories and have incredible food. So the idea sort of started there, and then fast forward a few months, and I was at Berkeley, and this is where serendipity comes into play. I had a few ideas that I wanted to pursue in food entrepreneurship, which is why I came to Berkeley. My essay to get here is actually very similar to what I ended up doing. And I met Steph, my co-founder, pretty much the very first week at orientation, over food, of course. It was a barbecue. And she had a very similar experience when she was living in China. She really wanted, on her bucket list of things to do was to learn how to make dumplings from a Chinese grandmother, but she couldn't find that experience. So I said, you want to learn how to cook with locals. I just want to eat at local homes, so let's see if we can make this work. And so ever since that first week, we got together every couple of weeks just to understand each other, to see whether we would be a good fit. We were really honest about, what our strengths were, where the gaps lay in our skill set. And the passion that we had to really make this something that would be useful for the world was really strong. And so we really worked hard to get there. So September 2011 was the inception of Traveling Spoon. And, everybody had said the best thing to do is have an MVP, which is this minimum viable product, which is the least you can do to test your product, to see if people are interested, if it's just you or if the rest of the world is interested in this sort of thing. How much would people pay? And I remember there was one of our MBA treks to India, and we had a bunch of students, classmates going to India. So I sent them an email, and I said, hey, would you guys be interested in an experience in a local home and having, homemade food? And within an hour of sending that email out, I got back emails from the entire group saying that this sounded great and they would love to do it. And I was like, great, but now I need to find a host, because I had nobody in mind at that time. It was just, just testing it out to see if people were interested. So we scrambled. I got a friend to post on Facebook to see if, his family, if in-laws would be interested in hosting, and we found a match, and we had these students go into this host's home. And they came back and said that was the best thing that they did. They spent, 2.5 weeks in India, and for the first time they went into a local Indian's home. They saw how they lived. They understood their culture, which was, they were Syrian Christians, which is a small pocket in South India, and they have very different food, very different culture, and they were able to really feel like a part of that region. And many of them said it was the best meal that they had, and I can vouch for that. She's our very first host, and simply phenomenal. So that was our first MVP, and that was when we really started to get confidence that it wasn't just us, it was people, our classmates even, who were really excited about this. In addition to that, we did a ton of research to see, what is the market size? Is this a problem that exists? And we found that the majority of travelers, their biggest pain point is finding authentic food and travel experiences. Travelers are also just tired of the same old thing. It used to be, guidebooks that they turned to back in the day that then became TripAdvisor. And now people tell us that the top 10 recommended spots on TripAdvisor are filled with tourists just like themselves, and that's not how they want to travel. And what we were really excited about was that we were seeing that the industry was changing. Conventional luxury as we know it is changing. Gone are the days when white tablecloth Michelin-starred restaurants are exciting. People are looking for something new, something different, stories of which they can come back and share with their friends and families. And that's what we provide, a chance to connect with the local over a really meaningful and authentic experience. So come summer, the next step was to find out if we could scale our host supply. So I went to India during my summer break and tried to figure out, how quickly could we bring hosts on? And within 4 weeks, we were able to bring on 35 hosts in 3 different cities. And the reasons for these hosts joining our platform were really refreshing for me. Initially I thought it would be just for the money, but it turns out that they do it for a plethora of reasons. So one of our hosts in India, many of our hosts are women, 90% of our host community is women, and many of our hosts in India are in their 60s and 70s. These are women who've been cooking their whole lives for their family, for their friends, for their in-laws, and now, their kids have left their homes, and they want something to do. They want to show off those cooking skills, and they want to be micro-entrepreneurs doing what they love from their home. So we give them an opportunity to do that. Our hosts in Vietnam do it because it gives them a chance to practice their English-speaking skills. I have this host in Japan, her name is Keiko, and she told me that, she was like, Aashi, I grew up in Tokyo with 2 siblings, and we never met a single foreigner growing up. She's like, now I have 2 kids, and I want them to meet kids from around the world. So it was really wonderful to see, on both sides, just how much of an impact it would be making to these hosts. So after I came back from that summer, having brought on 35 hosts, we then started to figure out a way to get Traveling Spoon into every project and every class that we could. Everything from women in business to somehow a finance project related to Traveling Spoon was great. We also took the entrepreneurship class with Dave Sharon. We also did, which I highly recommend if you already have a company you're working on right now, is to do an independent study with one of the professors that you really get. We did it with Kurt Beyer, who was phenomenal. In fact, I did 2 independent study courses with him. And then in the winter, Steph and I had a chance to travel to Southeast Asia, and so we brought on more hosts then. And then in the spring of 2013, we applied and got into the Lean Launchpad program, which was a great learning experience for us, and I'd highly recommend it. It was taught by Steve Blank at the time. And the 3 lessons that we got out of it were, 1, he says, get out of the building, get out of the building. And it's so true. It really is important for you, as Will was mentioning as well. Go out, talk to people, make those connections, hear what people have to say. And to this day, anytime we have a new feature that we come out, we try and get user feedback as soon as we come out with it, just to make sure that it's working, to iterate on it, things like that. The second thing is the importance of staying lean. Our very first product when we launched, we basically hacked a WordPress site for $1,000, and that's what we had as a website for 2 years, because we pretty much were bootstrapping the company for the first 8 months and had no money. But it worked. It was a form, and people would say where they were going and what they were interested in and what their budget was, and we would get this. And I basically had this ridiculous Excel spreadsheet of everybody's names and what they were wanting and which host we could set them up with. And they didn't know that, but it worked. So there are very inexpensive ways to test your company and to actually have it work for the first few years. And then the third thing that was really important was understanding how important it is to find partners. As a young company, you don't have incredible amount of resources or money to put towards marketing campaigns and sales. And so working with partners really helped us out. So we found tour operators who would, do 2-week trips to Asia for their travelers, and they would tack on a Traveling Spoon experience because it was unique to their travelers. And so that worked really well. And partners are still a big part of our business right now. So in the summer when we graduated, we basically were heads down, built out this WordPress site and launched the product. The first bit of money that we got, I'll still remember, was one of the most memorable days of our company, was we had applied and won the Venture Lab contest that was sponsored by the CET. And we hit all of our milestones, and we were the first company to do that in that batch of their incubator batch, and won $12,000. And it was free money, so the best money you can get. And then in winter, we knew that we wanted to raise money in the spring, and so we wanted to make sure that we could have reviews from travelers to show that they really were enjoying these experiences. It's hard to show tremendous growth when you don't even have like an automated product running, but it's important to show depth. We showed that pretty much every traveler that went on a Traveling Spoon experience had a phenomenal time, and that really stuck in the minds of our investors. So in the spring of 2014, we raised an angel round. It was led by Eric, the former CEO of Expedia, and a bunch of food and travel experts in the Bay Area and in India as well. With that money, our goal was threefold. We wanted to build a team. Until then, it was just Steph and me. We wanted to expand into other regions. We were in 3 countries for the greater part of 2 years. And the third one was to really build an automated website that would run on its own and that didn't require me working on an Excel spreadsheet in the background. So in the fall of 2015, a year and a half ago, we launched our website. That's the site you see today. It's a beautiful Ruby on Rails website. We're very proud of the design and the UI. And now we just closed a seed round. And with that money, our goal is twofold. One is to really expand into Europe. So if you know of any great cooks in Europe, please let me know. And the second is to really get in front of travelers at the point of their decision making. We've identified the marketing channels that are going to work for us, and now we have the money to put towards it. I wanted to share 3 lessons that I hope will be helpful to you. So the first is to share your idea. Because the benefit you get from this really trusted, incredible community in terms of feedback, in terms of people who will test it for you and give you their honest review, in terms of connections, far outweighs the risk that someone's going to quit their full-time job or studies and take your idea and run with it. And this really worked for me because, I grew up in India and people would always say, if you have an idea, keep it close to your heart because you don't want someone stealing it. When I came to Berkeley, I realized that every classmate that I spoke with about Traveling Spoon, and every professor and every person that I met just either had great advice or connections and was so willing to help out. It's such a collaborative community we have here that I really strongly encourage you to share your idea and really listen to what people have to say. We really use business school as a sandbox to test Traveling Spoon, and it worked really well for us, so I wish you the same. The second thing is to seek advice. Steph and I, we had design, we had marketing, we had, product development, all of those things we were really strong in. But we did have a few gaps, and one of those was technology. Neither of us had a tech background or a CS degree, and so we knew that would, if we didn't really fortify for that, we wouldn't do as well as we could. And so we went out and really looked for people in the industry that we respected and trusted and tried to get meetings with experts so that they would come on our board as advisors. And the second tip I have for you there is to, at first, not seek advisors, but seek advice. And what I'm trying to say here is, if you go up to someone that you truly respect in the field, who's, a leader in the industry, and you say, will you be my advisor? Chances are they're going to say, what, I'm too busy, I don't have time to be your advisor. But if you go up to them and say, hey, would you mind giving me 30 minutes of your time? I just have a few questions. You're an expert in this. I'd love to run it by you. You spend that 30 minutes with them, really have specific questions outlined, respond after your meeting and say, thank you so much. This is what we implemented. This is what worked. This is what didn't. Keep up, with that communication. And then a few months later say, hey, would you happen to have another 30 minutes so I could share, what worked the previous time, and I have a few more questions because I think you'd be great at it. Now, you do that a few times, and then when it comes time to pitch your idea, you say, hey, I have to make this presentation to X group. Do you mind if I list you as an advisor? Now, at that point, they've already given you the advice, and it's no skin off their back to say, yeah, sure, I'll be your advisor. And honestly, that's how we got quite a few of our advisors on in our company, and it's been fantastic. So it's just, of course, you have to be respectful. You have to really find the people you trust and respect, and whose advice you really take into consideration. But yeah, try to ask for advice and not advisors when you start off. And then the third thing is just to ask very clearly for what you want. Steph and I would go into meetings. This is, the early VC meetings, and we'd run through our pitch, and then, they would talk, and we would listen, and then we'd leave. And then we'd say, well, what happened there? We didn't even ask for money. We didn't really end up asking for what we wanted because we were kind of scared of, what their answer would be. But if you don't ask, you won't get an answer. So whether it's, and even if they're not interested, you can follow up and say, hey, I know you're not interested, but might you know somebody who is interested in investing in this industry? Or if you're not interested, why not? Because we really want to improve this. We really want to learn. And you'll really get some great feedback. So always ask for what you want. Now, in that vein, I have 2 asks of you. The first is, if you're traveling in the next few months and really want an authentic experience, use Future of Travel as a discount code to get a discount off of your experience. And then the second one is, we're expanding to Europe this summer, and the way we sometimes bring on hosts is to offer our ambassadors a free meal in exchange for their personal honest review and photographs. So if you're traveling to Europe this summer, send us an email at ambassadors@travelingspoon.com, and we'll set you up with a free meal in exchange for your review. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's have questions from the group tonight. I'm really struck by the beautiful complementarity of each of your paths. And I think it's really nice and illustrative of you, Aashi, really embody, like, you were the first customer for Traveling Spoon, and you were trying to solve your own problem, your own need, your own unmet need, and your own dream. And then I love that you used the kind of crucible of the school and then the rigorous processes that you use to vet. And Allie, you came here really with a dream of being in food, and we're really set on that. And you had worked in the Obama White House also with Sam Cass, and really at that intersection of health and food and really kind of underserved populations, and it's really interesting. And I remember you kind of trying to figure out that right fit of how you were going to find your way. Can you just elaborate a little bit on that, on your own search? And kind of, I just remember there were moments of uncertainty and you persevered, you persisted. And then the orbits changed.
I'm now in many orbits.
Yeah,
Does this work?
Yes.
I think that I might have done to Will the advice strategy that Aashi just told us about, because I had so many conversations with you throughout my 2 years here about who I was and where I wanted to go and what should I do, and knowing that I wanted to be, as you mentioned, sort of in this this space around food and sustainability and access. And so my process was, I really think that your orbits slide captured it really well, and I think that you cannot underestimate the power of in-person conversations. So I began by mapping out what it is that I thought I wanted against what I thought that I could bring to an organization, and then I sort of listed this exhaustive list of all the companies that met those specs, and there were many companies in that list. And then I started just networking aggressively, but I think respectfully. I tried to see who I knew at these organizations through friends of friends and whatnot, and like truly like the role of serendipity, like you meet one person who knows someone else and you just put yourself out there, you show up. And I think that also the power you said of coming prepared. So it's so many people now are interested in food and want to get into food and change the food system. But I think when you put yourself out there, you have to be credible. And so to me, that meant, like, I had worked for Michelle Obama on her Let's Move initiative with Sam, who you guys will meet soon. So I had that experience, but I really didn't know much about the food industry. And so as Aashi did with her traveling spoon experience, I took every course at Haas to do a different project, whether it was operations or finance or strategy or marketing. It was all on different food companies. And so then I would go meet with people like Will and others, and I would ask them questions and ask for advice, but I would come with a perspective. And so that's the advice I would give, is like, if you don't have experience in food and you know you want to be in food, but you don't know how, it's like, go talk to people, but also like get informed and come with a perspective.
One other thing you did that I just want to mention, I think Allie got very involved in a number of activities in the school. One was the Global Social Venture Competition, and she actually kind of took on this big, meaty job of figuring out how to redesign it for its next chapter. And I think doing that was really challenging given all the coursework and everything you had. But what was interesting about it was you demonstrated to a whole community of people in the school what you were capable of doing, so that when when we got the call, the reference call about, you when you were interviewing, we really had substantive kind of experience with you and what you could do, as opposed to, oh yeah, she came to my office hour once and I think, she's a really thoughtful person. But you had actually done things. So I wanted to kind of give that advice, to the students as well, that when you can really demonstrate your leadership skills or your execution skills or your teamwork skills or your communication skills, whatever they are, in some community-based or greater initiative around here, it goes a long way, I think, to accruing to your own credibility and value and sort of your own proof of concept in the market. Do you want to add something to that?
Can I add one?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you for
You
that.
can
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
You have to find this balance between being open-minded and open to new opportunities that you don't necessarily know exist, but also being focused, right? Because if you go out and talk to every person who's tangentially involved with food, like, it's not a good use of anyone's time, right? So it's like, I would say a process of sort of smart discovery, right? But it's not totally unbridled and without purpose.
And I just wanted to add to that is, when you go out and do these things and are at events and lead organizations, you build relationships with people, and those relationships go really far. Just to give you an example with investors, it's rare that somebody, upon meeting you the first time, is going to give you their money, right? It's really about building their relationship so people can trust you, so you have credibility. So really focus on those people who you think would be, just people that you respect, and continue to keep in touch and communicate with them on an ongoing basis.
So who's got a question from the audience? And maybe Rohini, you could grab that microphone, or Ryan, and run it up. There's a question here, and maybe, does anyone else? Okay, keep thinking. Maybe introduce yourself. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Elise. I'm a student at Haas, and this question's for Ali. I really appreciate Annie's mission to have organic for everybody, but I saw sort of a disconnect when you were talking about the market and the fact that you target moms with high income. I was wondering what Annie's is trying to do to make organic actually accessible for everybody.
Yeah, good catch. So we have...
No, I was just thinking.
Oh.
Sorry.
Thank you for that great question. Elise is your name? The consumer I described today was who we call our core consumer. So she's the mom who's been with us, like, frankly, since day one. We might not have called her a millennial in 1995, right? But she's the mom who is generally seeking out more premium, natural, organic foods. She probably shops, at a Safeway, but gets some things at Whole Foods. But maybe who you're talking about is like the Walmart mom, right? And so that is one of the biggest benefits of being part of General Mills is like now we're in Walmart, we're in Sam's Club, we're in Costco, and we're able to offer the same products to people for more affordable prices. And so we call it channel strategy, right? It's like we're in Whole Foods and the specialty natural and organic grocers where we've always been. That's kind of the foundation of our business. But as we grow rapidly, we offer our products in like different sizes and formats and for, frankly, better value in other channels. So thank you for calling that out.
Allie, if you go back through the archive of this year's class here, one of my pet peeves that I've been picking on is the term consumer and the relationship. And you work for a CPG, a consumer packaged goods business, which historically has defined, the people who buy the products as consumers. And I've been sort of trying to challenge some of our guests to think about using different language, because we agree that language is important. That's one of your core values. And that if a company thinks of its customers as consumers, then we effectively may never get to a sustainable kind of relationship. And I think that, so we've been kind of searching around for other words. So I just wanted to kind of plant that seed with you. Alvin Toffler used the word prosumer in his book, The Third Wave, as something that was a bit of more of an egalitarian relationship. But I think that I proposed the word, citizen, thinking, more equitably about the food system. So it's just, I don't know if you have a thought on that or something to think about. I know you'll probably be the CEO of Annie someday, so I just thought, I'll just plant that idea now so you can start to rework the language.
So the idea is to move past the transactional relationship that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Does anyone in the audience have a good term for that?
Anybody writing about that in their paper? Not yet? Okay. Who else has got a question? Yeah, over here. Thank you.
Hello, my name is James. I'm a graduate of Cal. I'm currently studying Master of Science in Sustainable Food Systems. So this conversation is really exciting. I actually heard about it through Twitter and Edible School Garden. So thanks for putting it out there. My question is actually about, I forgot about your name.
Aashi.
Yeah, I'm curious about the model of your business and how, sending families and travelers, especially into homes around the world, what's the kind of verification for the travelers to protect the families? We have that validation through like Airbnb and even like free websites like couchsurfing.com, for example. So I'm just curious on how protecting the families from bad travelers, really.
No, of course, great question. So, we want to make sure that every host that we bring on is personally vetted. And when we vet them, we also talk to them about, what sorts of travelers come to their house, how do they correspond with these travelers. So we have a lot of communication that happens before a host accepts a traveler into their home. So we try to give them access to their social networks so they can see, if they have a Facebook page and what they look like and who their friends are. And then they have a communication channel that's open so that if they feel at all that this is somebody they may not be comfortable with, they have the chance to really talk to them and hear more about them before they accept them. Something that came out of a change that we made on our website was adding a little on the booking form was to say, hey, tell the host a little bit about yourself so that they feel a more personal connection. And we thought people would just say, oh, hey, I'm from San Francisco and this and that. You'll be surprised at the paragraphs that people write about themselves when they go to these experiences, because they're really excited. And these are people who are looking for a cultural exchange, for a meaningful connection. And so we found that there has been a really wonderful connection that happens between hosts and travelers. Now, having said that, we do have hosts, who are women who say, oh, there's a single guy or who's coming over, and I want to host him, but I'm a little worried. And so then we say, A, communicate, but B, also ask a friend to come over and host with you, or have your family members there at the same time. Or, if there's anybody who you feel at all uncomfortable with, don't feel like you have to host them. But these are the things that you should do to make sure that you are safe. In addition to that, we have a host guarantee policy. If, things break and things happen, that comes out of our fund.
I really like, you have such a caring, kind of high-touch approach to your own being. And I see that translated into the business. And it's interesting in this era of where everything is digitized, and we live in the bubble of unicorns here, where companies are expected to scale up immediately, and we're surrounded by them. And it feels like when I look at your timeline, you've been really deliberate about this. You haven't rushed. You've been really careful and thoughtful. And so how do you think about scale, and how do you, to build on this question, how do you manage this to make sure that you don't actually become like TripAdvisor?
Yeah. Good question again, Will. You were alluding to this earlier, but customer service is one of our tenets. We believe that's really our competitive barrier against other companies. People can do this. It's not like we have a patent on it or exclusivity rights with our hosts, but we learned from, again, one of our advisors at Lyft, how important it is to really make travelers feel like they really are being cared for. And not only during the good times, but also when things don't go right. And my husband knows this, but every time I would get, things would happen, people were late, or the host. This is during the days of my Excel spreadsheet when it was prone to a few manual errors. We had a traveler go to one of our host homes in Japan, and they were in their pajamas because they weren't expecting, we didn't send them a reminder, and they weren't expecting these travelers, and so they were like, but being super hospitable as the Asians are, they've welcomed them in, and they had an experience, but we felt so badly. And so, completely refunded the experience, sent them a cookbook, one of our favorite cookbooks, and that traveler has returned to us so many times because, it's really important to, when you get a really loyal traveler is somebody whose experience you've turned from a negative to a positive experience. And so that's one of the things. Talking about scale, the way we do it is, we were in 3 countries in Asia for 2 years because we really wanted to understand the nuances of each culture and region, and wanted to really own that region. And then when we knew that we understood it fairly well, then we started to expand into other parts of Asia. It's tough with travel because on one hand, investors would say you have to go really deep and have all of the hosts in a city, but at the same time, our travelers who go to that city have such a great experience, but if we're not in another city that they're traveling to the next year or in 6 months from then we've lost that traveler. So it's a little bit of diving deep and then widening up again. And then looking at the regions where we get a lot of traffic and then going deep into that as well. So when we started, India, Thailand, Vietnam, Thailand was really big for us. And so now we have in Bangkok close to 50 hosts. And then when we grew to 20 countries in Asia, Japan became a huge market for us. And so now we're looking to expand our hosts in Japan. And so we try to have on board 5 to 10 hosts in each city to start with, and then when we know where the demand is rising, we put more resources and boots on the ground to make sure we can scale up that city to a critical mass.
That's great. So you're really looking at critical mass, and you're also, even given by your last slide of asking us, you're using the network and the community to really help you build and scale it with integrity. Yeah.
The community has been really wonderful. I think people in food and travel are just typically so passionate and love what they do. And so this whole ambassador program actually came about by accident. So we would get people, writing to us and say, I love what you're doing, how can I help? And we'd say, we don't have anything you could do right now, but we'd put you on a list and get back to you. And then we had all of these people who, were photographers and bloggers and expats, and we were like, maybe we get them to vet our hosts. We train them, and in exchange for a free meal, they give us their unbiased opinion and photographs. And we have, photo checklist, and we have tips on, how to give us the best photos and things like that. And pretty soon now we have a few hundred ambassadors in our program that we constantly communicate with. And so whenever they're traveling, we have a host in that region, we connect the two, and we have a pretty sophisticated system of doing that right now. So
So what would be the best way for a student to seek advice from you guys?
Facts. An email to me at akelley@annies.com would be perfect. I'd be glad to talk to any of you. Like I have.
And how would you spell that?
akelley @annies.com.
Thank you.
I'd be happy to talk to anyone.
That's
same
generous.
here. It's Aashi, AASHI, @travelingspoon.com.
Well, thank you both for being here. It's really wonderful and inspiring to hear both of you speak. And we'll see you next week with Sam Cass for our final class. And next week, I would really appreciate it if you'd also think about what we should absolutely repeat in the class and who is missing or that we should invite in the future. That feedback would be really helpful for me. Thank you.